Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Movies That Make Us with a brand new intro and everything.
Woo!
Theme music, all of it. Wow.
We're professional and stuff.
Yeah. We're looking more and more that way.
It's taken us 102 episodes, but we're getting there.
Oh, we're getting there.
Fine. It's fine. We're there. We're
slow and steady wins the race.
Slow and steady wins the race. That's right.
Well, we figured, this is our month where we're talking about movies where the characters go through transformation. So we're going through some transformations of our own here on the show. So the new logo last week, we've got the new intro this week. Who knows what we're going to do next week?
It's crazy, man.
You never know.
Put pants on. I'm still in my PJs right now. I still have my stretchy pants on. You can't see, but I do.
I think stretchy pants are going to become the new norm.
I don't like that idea.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I've never been a fan of people that wear yoga pants out in public that have never actually gone to a gym or done yoga. These are my and I understand it now because this last year in captivity in my basement, I now have dressy yoga pants and I have I've worn them to the gym a bunch of times, yoga pants. So I get it. I get what it is, but for me, I want to try and I put makeup on this morning. I brushed my hair just for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I have my new shirt on. Do you guys like my new lip shirt?
I like the lip shirt. Yes.
And then when we get done with the show, I'm going to actually go put a real pair of pants on and go get my second dose of Moderna. So.
Yay!
And then I'm going to put stretchy pants on for 3 days because I'll be dead.
Hopefully it goes better for you than the first one did.
Sammy was down for 24 hours, so I'm hoping that's just how it is for me. I just, 24 hours, and then I'm up and ready to go.
That's about what I had. I had a 24, 30-hour spell, and then I was fine.
Yeah. I woke up after the second one and didn't feel great. And my wife said it was all psychological because I was assuming I wasn't going to feel great. And it went away by noon or so. So I don't know. I've heard different things.
It's weird. It affects everybody so differently, but better than the alternative, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's your shot.
Yep. Go out and get your shot for sure. It's definitely worth it. That's the only way we're going to get back to normal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or to whatever normal is going to be going forward.
Of normality. Yeah.
So,
sorry, my daughter just came in and said she's going to softball practice, and she got a brand new pair of stretchy pants specifically for softball. And she just showed me her fancy softball stretchy pants.
I did not know that there were specifically softball stretchy pants.
I think she used softball as an excuse to go get her a new pair of leggings specifically for softball, which I'm all for.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm not going to start playing softball just to buy a pair of new pants, but I'm glad that
it's a good thing that she doesn't live back in the time of A League of Their Own, because we've talked about that. And
she wouldn't be playing softball.
Sliding the plate is not good.
If Sammy had to wear a skirt in order to do something, she would probably do it for poetry if all of a sudden the government came down and said all ladies have to wear dresses if they speak in public again. But she would definitely fight it. But she wouldn't play softball if she had to wear a skirt.
I don't blame her.
That's not the daughter I raised.
Yeah. The good news is I would be very shocked if the government at this point ever came down and said.
I was just thinking Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. You never know. I will not be surprised of anything that happens from here on out. I'm just there are no more surprises.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel. Make sure you like this video so that others can find it. We always appreciate that. And today we are continuing our transformation month with Brittany Runs a Marathon. This was Tracy's pick.
Yep.
Tracy, tell us why you picked this movie.
So This one, as a lot of our viewers probably know, I picked up running about 5 years ago through the Disney company. I had no interest in running. I wasn't a runner. I had no background in running. I wasn't on the track team. That was not my thing. But my friend said, I got to run through the Disney parks before it opened, and I got this cool medal. I was like, all right, you have intrigued me. And so she got me in, and I've done a bunch of them since. There's some. This is such a good movie in that I love how it focuses on the transformation of the individual, because I've been through that, and I've as Val said, in the last year of captivity, I mean, I put a bunch of weight back on, and now that the weather's changing, I'm like, okay, I got to get back out, I got to get running again. But I remember those days where you're like, okay, one block. I can do one block. Okay,
I'm going to the stop sign. I'm just going to go to that stop sign.
That stop sign, and that's it. And then I'm done. And then it's like, okay, where's the next stop sign? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I've signed up for a 5K. What am I doing? And then you're like, oh my gosh, I signed up for a half marathon. What am I doing? And you really push yourself further than you ever thought you could go. And if I can do a marathon, anybody can do a marathon. It just takes the time and the effort. And that's one of the one things that I really like about running as a life metaphor is every step forward is towards the goal. Every step forward is getting you closer. And I love when they say in the movie, he's like, the point is not to win. The point is to just finish. Mm-hmm. And I've got some friends that are really fast and really athletic, and they set all sorts of records, and I am so happy and proud for them. But the thing you got to remember is everybody's running their own race. You're not competing against anybody else. You're just trying to get to the finish line, and that's it. And that's a beautiful part of this story for me.
And I have to say, like, when this movie first came out, I actually didn't choose this movie to go and review because it kind of looked annoying. It did not look like what it is. The way they marketed this film, it kind of looked like it was going to be some kind of making fun of, because the lead actress that's in it is usually a comedian.
Right.
And I was just like, I don't know. This doesn't seem like something I want to watch. And then like a year and a half ago or something, you had mentioned that you liked it, Tracy. And I went on and I watched it on TV, and I've watched it a couple times since. And what really hits me hard about this film is that she doesn't believe that she deserves to be cared about, which I think a lot of people can relate to, because you grow up and you have people that surround you, and you kind of do what you feel like you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to act and how you're supposed to be. And she really does not take care of herself in the way that she doesn't stick up for herself. She doesn't eat right. She allows herself to be what other people perceive her as. And so when she figures out that that's really not what she wants to be doing anymore, that's a hard climb out of that hole.
Yes.
Like, I've been there, and it's hard. Like, every time I watch this movie now, I have moments where I have like sad tears, because I'm like, I feel you, Brittany. Like, I feel you. And then towards the end of the movie, I have happy tears, because you're just so happy that she has made it, like, across, to this other place. So it really, there isn't, I would say there's nothing like super exciting about the story. It's nothing but what it is it's real, I think. Like, it just is real. And there's a couple moments in the movie where you hate Brittany too, where you're like, just let this lady be nice to you. Why are you being such a cow to this lady?
And I love that. I love the fact that they weren't afraid to have the main character be unlikable at times. Yeah. Because we are going for this realism, and that's how people are sometimes,
Yeah.
But I love towards the end of the movie when she starts cramping up and she's going to quit, and then her friends are like cheering her on. And I can't tell you how true to life that is. Moment. Yeah. That is so true to life, because when I did my marathon back in January, I had never gone over 20 miles. And we got to mile 20 and I had 6 miles left to go. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. My foot was on fire. I had blisters. I was just ready to be done. And one of my friends who was down there, he had already done his marathon earlier in the day. And he's like, come on, let's go get these 6 miles done. I'm like, what? And he joined me. And then there was another guy who joined us, and he actually joined me for the last half. But their support got me across that finish line, and I couldn't have done it without them. And that's such a touching moment, because I've felt that. And I love doing races because as opposed to like a virtual run, because you're going through like a neighborhood and people are sitting in chairs in their front yard cheering on random strangers, and it's just such a lift. It's like, oh my gosh, thank you for being out here. Thank you for cheering me on for doing this stupid thing.
Yeah. I do appreciate a lot about this movie how they handled Brittany's character, because I think there's kind of this tendency with people who are overweight that it's just like, you just need to be skinny and that's going to solve all of your problems. And this really kind of, I think, handle it in a very realistic way. Like, I love when she's in talking to the doctor, trying to get Adderall for the first time, and like, like she doesn't really need it, but she wants it. And he's like, well, how much sleep are you getting? Oh yeah, plenty of sleep. No problem there. I've heard of this thing called Adderall. But that is, they go into it, and he talks about her lifestyle and needing to make changes, and she gets personally offended. Like, I've been there. I don't think it's any secret that I'm not healthy in a lot of ways, and I wish that I was more healthy. And the thing is when you get confronted with that, it's hard, because you feel like what they're basically saying is you have run your life wrong, and you're just doing it wrong. Like, you're doing life wrong. And in a lot of ways you are, but having somebody else tell you that is really hard and really shocking. And I think that they played that moment out really well in the movie, because she like takes it as a personal affront, like that he's calling her fat and all this other stuff. But he's not. He's calling her out. He's like, look, some people are heavy and still healthy, but can you honestly say that your lifestyle is what it should be?
Right. Well, I remember a couple of years ago, I got diagnosed with prediabetes, and that was my moment. That moment of her in the doctor's office, that was mine. I was like, holy crap. Like, I do not want to develop that. And Jake, I know that's something you're very sensitive to with your family. Of course, it's type 1, but still, I mean, that was my moment. And I love how she uses humor to deflect so often. When she's like, the doctor's like, I need you to lose 45 to 50 pounds. And she's like, that's the size of a Siberian Husky. You want me to take a medium-sized dog off my body?
It's daunting when you get told that, that when I got told a couple of years ago, when I went in and they're like, yeah, you're obese. And like, I always looked at myself like over the past 7 years as like curvy and chubby. But when somebody actually tells you to your face, like, you're obese, and for me, I don't know, when you guys hear that word, I think of someone else. Like, I don't necessarily think of myself. And so when they're like, you have to lose, like 40 to 50 pounds to, whatever your healthy weight is that your doctor tells you, I don't care what that number is. It seems like it's the furthest thing that you can do.
Right.
And for me, that's running. I signed up for 3 5Ks to do with Tracy. And when he's saying that he has never run more than 20 miles, I'm pretty sure for me, I've never run more than like 2 miles out of school when they made you run. Like, outside of school, like, I've never purposely, I mean, I've run a 5K with my family before and that's it, but I'm pretty sure I ran that. But when you think about how much, when somebody tells you that you have to lose weight, and for me, that's kind of how that finish line look. In my mind, it's way out here, and it's just so unattainable. It's so hard to think. And now you have to think about it every day, which nobody wants to do that. Like, that's, an awful thing to do. And so for me, they hit a lot on that. But I think the biggest thing in this one outside of the running is that she does, like Jake said, it doesn't matter how much you weigh. You could be 100 pounds overweight, you could be 5 pounds underweight, but if you don't like yourself and if you don't allow other people into your life, you're not going to be happy. Like that, her roommate, who is like this ultimate like social media person, she's, you know, this petite, beautiful woman, is like ugly and unhappy to me. And it, you know, even when Brittany started losing weight, she still didn't have value in herself, because it's very hard to do that. That's a marathon in itself, is to gain your self-worth.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Well, and I think that's what I really like about the story and about the movie, is because at first I was like, great, this is going to be another like fat person needs to get skinny to be happy kind of movie. And I really hate those movies. And even like you mentioned that you really loved how she deflects everything with humor. I kind of hated it because I saw that and I was like, that's what I do all the time. And it made me feel really crummy about myself in some ways, which is not a bad thing. It made me, I guess a better way to say it made me a little bit more introspective and say, okay, what do I need to change? And I think for me, that's what this movie really was about. It wasn't just about being skinny so you look good and you feel better about yourself, and it's all about your personal appearance, because it was really the changes that she made outside of just exercising, outside of just the weight loss, but like in her life, the people that she surrounded herself with, Val, like you mentioned, her friend and the new friends that she makes as she's, you know, the first lady, the lady who she doesn't want anything to do with, who's going to coach her, and she is really mean to throughout the whole thing. But really, you know, surrounding herself with her and her running buddy and those kind of things, like that's what really made the difference. Is it was a whole lifestyle change for her. It wasn't just about trying to look good for anybody else. It was about changing her whole attitude. And I think that's a big part of it. And I think that's the transformation piece to this film, is especially when she gets to the part, you know, she gets that stress fracture, so she's not able to complete the marathon with the two people she's been training with. If that had happened earlier in the film, she would have given up and gone back to who she was. But because of the transformation that she made, that was challenging, but she was back the next year to run it by herself and to finish. And I think that's powerful.
I love so much that they did that, because like in any other formula movie, you know, they would have her, okay, she trained, she transformed, she wins, she runs the race, and we're good. But in life, you have plans and you have goals and you get there. And like most of the time, right before you get to where you think you're going, life is like, meh, we're going to throw this at you. We're going to throw this at you, you know, and you're like, crap, my whole plan just went out in the window. Now I've got a detour and I've got to pick myself up again, and I've got to figure it out again. And I love the characters of her sister and her brother-in-law. Like they are two of my favorite characters of the whole movie, but they have this whole different life. And so she goes back to stay with them when she gets her stress fracture, which I think is really a big step for her to say that, you know what, I need to go stay with you. I need some help. I need to get out of this place that I'm at. And then she gets kind of confronted with a woman who is a little bit bigger than her, who has a, you know, good looking husband, and they seem to be super happy. And she's like, wait a second, like, what's the joke here?
Right.
And that's an awful moment. Like that moment, every time it comes on, I just kind of cringe, and I'm like, I don't want to watch it because it's so uncomfortable, this moment. And I think a lot of us do that, is we compare our situations to someone else's situation. And we shouldn't. Like, that's one thing that I have a really hard time with, is like, I compare and compare and compare, and you can get caught in that evil green space, right, of envy. And it's not a good place to be. It's not a good place, because then you're judging others, you're judging yourself, you're envious instead of looking at what you have. This movie just really, like, I didn't think it was going to hit so many different things about like the real struggles, you know. And I do love that it's comedic. There are a lot of comedic moments. We don't want to just be like, this is such a depressing movie, because it's not. It really has some great moments.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we have played it off like it's depressing, because I feel bad if that's the case, because it's not. Like, it really is about, like, the struggle is there. But I think what makes these kind of movies, when we talk about these transformation movies, when we look at Chef, when we look at Brittany Runs a Marathon, and then the movie that we're going to do next week, which I finally decided on, we're going to do Rudy, is what I've picked. And when you look at these movies, like, there is struggle and there's hard things and obstacles along the way as these people transform, as these main characters change and grow. But that's, like you said, Val, earlier, that's real life. Like, but that's, to me, I feel like that's what makes it triumphant. You get the moment at the end where her friends show up and start cheering her on, and that becomes a tear-jerking moment, but it wouldn't be if there wasn't the struggle in between there.
Right.
And so I agree. Like, this movie isn't a depressing movie. There are moments where you're like, okay, this is uncomfortable, maybe because it reminds me of where I'm at and maybe some things that I need to change. Or there's some moments that are uncomfortable because as she changes, it takes her a while to kind of come around, and it's not just a switch that gets flipped. But I think overall, I think it's a very uplifting movie.
Yeah. And I want to circle back to that scene where she confronts the woman. And as difficult as that scene is, it's so important because she's made so much progress and she's changed so much, and she's feeling defeated because she's got this stress fracture. And there are times where you get down and you feel like, I'm going to go back to what I used to be, and I don't want that, and that scares me. And then it's like Val said, you fall down again and you've got to pull yourself back out of this hole again. And it's like, I've already done this. I have already experienced this. Why am I experiencing this all over again? And I love the fact that at the end, you know, she does have those people with her and that they're cheering her on. And one of the lines that always just hits me really hard is when her friend's like, so they're real runners, right? And she's like, well, I'm a runner. And she's like, no, you're not. And I've experienced that. When I signed up for my first Salt Lake City half marathon, I went in to get my bib and t-shirt and all that stuff. And one of the other runners, and this is rare because the running community is actually really, really, really supportive for the most part. But I ran into this woman and she's like, oh, are you doing the 5K? And I said, no, I'm doing the half. And she looked at me and kind of did an up and down. And she's like, really? I'm like, uh-huh. And I go, I may be slow, but I'm going to get it done. And she's like, okay. And walked off. And I'm like,
wow.
Lady. You know, and that's rare. That rarely happens. I mean, in the running community, especially during a race, like during a race, you when you start getting towards the later part of the race, you're just like, you're like, there's 3 miles left, but those 3 miles might as well be to the moon. It's like, oh my gosh, I've already done 3 miles 3 times. Now I've got to do another 3. And you'll find yourself in groups of people, and we'll do, and I love that scene in the movie where she meets the guy in the park. And he's like, we can do this. And she's like, yes, we can. Because that's how it is. We'll look at each other and we're like, okay, 3 more miles. We can do this. We're just going to keep going, you know, and people just so encouraging each other to get each other through this. And I love that kind of as a metaphor for life, because sometimes we don't do that. Sometimes we don't look at the people next to us and be like, you know what, are you okay? We got this. We're going to be all right. And we need that. We need that more in society.
Yeah. Well, for sure. I agree. I do love that moment when she's passing him and he's like, you can do this. And she kind of calls him out. He's like, no, I'm talking to myself because I'm trying to give myself a pep talk. Like, that would be me. You can do it. Just 5 more steps.
I do have to say, like, I love this random job that she found where she's just like taking care of this house during the day. And then there's this guy that's there that's supposed to take care of it during the night, but he just moves in because these rich people do not live in this house anymore. And it's all to watch this dog, right? Like, it's just all about a dog, but it really turns into being nothing about the dog, where they just move in together. She's in one room, he's in another. And then they get this kind of bonding relationship, and he's so quirky. And I love it when they finally show like the YouTube video of what he came up with.
I thought of you last night when I was rewatching this. I'm like, we need to find Val a bird poncho.
Why don't these exist in real life?
Just the premise behind why he did the bird poncho, as he's talking about it, he's like, you love birds, but then when it's raining, the birds are all gone. And then he puts on the bird poncho. I'm like, well, I guess problem solved. They're the birds. They're all over your poncho.
And this is like this mind-blowing moment that he has created. And she's just like, that's what you think. That's it.
Because he's like, because he had given up on his dream. This was his dream to do this kind of thing. And she inspired him through her being negative, to follow his dream. So,
and somebody might look at running the same way, you know what I mean? As we kind of looked at that bird poncho, like, so your whole dream is to freaking run? Like that to me, because I am not a runner either. I get why people like to do it, but like Tracy, I'm still not all the way there. Like, I'm going to do it, but I'm not to the point yet where I'm like, oh yeah, this seems like a sane thing for me to do. Val, is to like go and run.
I've never reached that point. I don't do this for fun. I do this for health.
But I would wear that full body bird poncho all day long.
But I do it for health, and I do it for this. I do it so that I can
I'm doing it for the bling. That's
the metal bling, and I can hang this up on my wall, and I can look at it, and I can go, you know what? I did that. This is something that I did, and I completed, and I worked hard. And it reminds me that I can continue to do that.
Big, man. But, like, that's like one of those belts.
This
I feel like that's like a wrestling belt size.
But it's like, it's just a reminder. I don't get a runner's high. And there are so many times where I'm like, I don't want to put on my shoes and go outside and run 3 miles. That's the last thing I want to do. But it's like, I got to do it. And
I don't want to pay my taxes, but I have.
Yes.
I did.
I did until next month.
No, I got mine done already. I'm done, outpaid, everything. So
yeah, me too.
I try and get the bad things out of the way as soon as possible.
If I have to pay, I wait as long as I can to pay. Because they wait as long as they can to pay me. So.
Oh yeah, they still owe me money. Like the government owes me a lot of money. We won't get into that, but I try. I try and get that out of the way. But yeah, no, I think this movie there were parts of it that were so much fun. There were parts that are so relatable, like no matter who you are, especially because of the side characters. I think if you don't relate with Brittany all the way, there's a side character that you do relate to. Mm-hmm. And I think just that realizing that you're not in the right place in your life, and why did it take you so long to figure out that you're not in the right place? And I think we all kind of have those moments, even if they're not as big as hers, like about every 10 years in your life, you're like, am I doing the right thing? You just kind of question it for a minute. Am I in the right spot? Am I doing the right thing? Should I be looking at something else? And I think we should all do that. Like whether you're on the right path or not, you should always question like, okay, am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I heading towards my goal? And your goals change all the time. Your goals change all the time.
Yeah. And I think I like as well this idea that we're all running our own race, like you mentioned, Tracy. When she talks to Catherine the first time, like really talks to her, and she's like, look, your life is just easier than mine. I Googled you. I know you've got this apartment and this apartment, and like your life is just easier than mine. She didn't know all the challenges that Catherine was going through with her personal life. And we don't. And that's, her friend and roommate who had the Instagram life. Like that's what a lot of the Instagram life really is making your life look glamorous and great on Instagram. But behind the scenes, you don't know what people are going through. And, so it is so important to not compare yourself to others and not think, okay, well, your life is just easier. Like, listen to people that might want to come along and help you,
Mhm.
and they may have some wisdom and some advice to help you along the way and some experience. And just because their life looks easier, like, how did they get to that point? And they may be able to help you in a similar situation get to where you want to get to. And at the same time, run your race. Like, your life is hard. Everybody's life is hard, and you just got to keep moving forward and keep going.
Yeah, oftentimes at the start of a race, especially, I'm usually towards the back anyway, to get all the fast people out of the way. And then as people are passing me, there's these negative thoughts that go through your mind, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that person!" And you look at them, and you're like, "They're bigger than me, or they're the same size as me," or even, just like I got passed once by a pregnant woman, and she had a thing on her back that said 8 months pregnant, and I'm going to finish or something like that. And I'm like, an 8-month pregnant woman is beating me. This sucks. And then it's like, no, just focus on the music. Just focus on your pacing. Just get yourself across that finish line. And yeah, we compare each other, ourselves to each other so much. And I love the shot visually when she's getting ready to run for the first time, and she goes out on the street, and there's the hot dog vendor pretzel cart thing. And she sees herself in this sheet metal, and it's all distorted. And it's such a great visual. They don't have to say anything. It's one of those show don't tell moments where she sees herself kind of in this distorted way, and she turns around and runs back into I don't belong. I don't fit. And there have been times where I'm at the race and I'm like looking around at these other people who are like in incredible shape, and I'm like, I don't belong here. But guess what? I do. And they may get before me, but we're going to do the same amount of miles. It doesn't matter how fast. We're all going to get across that finish line.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's one of the great lessons that come from this movie. I will say what shocked me as I watched it was I knew what the rating on it was. I knew that it was a rating for language, but there was a lot of
there was a lot more than I remember there being. And so I'm watching this last night again, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm sorry, Jake. Because I remember all the good stuff. I remember the positive stuff. And
it reminds me of Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, because I forget every time that there's all the swearing, because that's not what I remember about it. And then I turn it on and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this whole scene.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah. So that would be the one thing that I would say as people watch it, is just be aware and know that it is rated R for language for a reason. And it's not just one of the, like, the Snyder Cut, for example, where they sprinkle in 3 F words in there, and that's how they that's like the first 5 minutes of this movie, and then it continues throughout. And so that part was definitely shocking, and I think people just be aware.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if that's not your thing, then this may not be the movie for you, but that's okay too. So
yeah.
But what do we think? What are we going to rate this one? Tracy, we'll start with you and your grade for your pick here.
This one I saw in the theater, and I was just like, you know what? I get it. It hit me on a lot of levels. As somebody who, like I said, I'm a big guy, and running is intimidating. And when you first start out, I mean, even after you first start out, there are times where you're like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. What am I doing? I love the scenes at the beginning where she's like, one block. I can do one block, and she's got to talk herself up into it. And then she's like, okay, now I've done 3. I've signed up for a 5K, and now, my God, I've signed up for a half marathon. And, there's so many life lessons in this. I think the acting is great. Jillian Bell is really, really, really good in this, who plays Brittany. I love the side characters. I'm going to go an A- on this one.
Okay. Val, what about you?
Yeah, for me, I honestly think if you took the running out of the film, this film would still be a good transformation movie. I think there's a lot going on outside of the running. The running is kind of what pulls it all together because, there's a common goal, but she has so much going on that I think other people can relate to. Tracy really relates to the running, and I really relate to just like her figuring out that she should change for her betterment, for her mental health, for her physical health, for all of that stuff. And so I really enjoyed that part of it. And so I give this movie a B+.
Yeah, I think for me this was a good movie. I think it was a solid B for me. I think and maybe that's just my own discomfort with some of the parts of the film because it made me kind of stop and think about myself and I don't know. Sometimes those movies aren't fun to watch, but I do feel like this has a great message. I do feel like there's some huge triumphs in it. And I do think that it's got some great humorous moments. So overall, I think it was a solid B for me. And worth checking out.
Scores.
And I think it's really fun too, because this is based on a true story. This is based on the director's friend who went through something similar. It's not an exact, it's not a documentary by any means, but it's based on that. And I love the fact that Jillian Bell actually lost 40 pounds, which is the same amount that the real Brittany lost.
Oh, wow.
In order to do this film. And she was kind of a bigger lady. She lost 40 pounds for the role. And then to do the scenes at the beginning where she's heavier, they used a lot of prosthetics in order to make her look bigger. But she legit lost 40 pounds for this role to be where Brittany in real life was. So,
and they showed pictures of Brittany at the end in the credits, or right at the beginning of the credits. I think they show a few pictures there to remind you this is a real thing. People go through these kind of transformations all the time, and it's definitely possible. So.
One step at a time. It's one little goal, and that's the thing. When you're running a race, is you'll find yourself, and you're like, okay, I can go to that stop sign. Okay, I can go to that fence post, and you just keep telling yourself, okay, that's the next thing that I need to get to. Because if you look at, I have to run 13 miles today, or I have to run 26 miles, or I have to run 3 miles or 1 mile, it can be so daunting, and so you have to break it up into these small bite-sized chunks. And then before you know it, you're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's life. Just take it, just have to make it to tomorrow. Just have to make it to the weekend. Sometimes that's where you're at in life, right? I've just got to get through to the end of the day today.
There are days where it's like, hey, I got out of bed. Good enough. Anything else that happens after that, gravy.
Yep, exactly.
I have I'm going to be on Good Things Utah this coming up Friday for the 23rd, talking about Mortal Kombat. Totally opposite. I love that you both did it. And a sham. I get to actually go to an in-theater screening, I believe, on Tuesday at like 2 p.m. And watch Mortal Kombat. And so I will be on Good Things Utah this Friday talking about that one. And I think I have some Earth Day documentary screenings that I have to watch this week as well. I'll have to look those up. But yeah, so probably around, they usually have me on about 9:25 in the morning.
Yeah, and you've been killing it every time that you're on there, Val. You do such a great job. And so
even the days where she's like, I was terrible today, it's like, no, you were good.
Yeah, she says that, and then I think, I wish my terrible days I looked that
right.
good. So
it's that comparison thing.
Yeah, you just can't compare. Usually, anyway.
You guys are so nice. Last week was not this last week, but the last time I did it, which was I think 2 Fridays ago. I found out like right before, about half hour before I went on, that my grandma had passed away, and so I had to go upstairs, tell my daughter, and then run out the door and head over, to the place. And so I don't even remember the show really, because I was just trying to remember the names. What movies did I even talk about? I don't know. That's where I was. So I'm just happy that this time I can talk about Mortal Kombat. I hope that it sucks a little bit because I just, like I want it to be good, but in like a bad way. Is that weird?
Right.
Like I want it to be campy. I don't want it to take itself too seriously. Like I just want it to be super fun.
I don't know any movie that has a 4-armed monster fighter is going to take itself too seriously, but
I feel like lately a lot of
lean
these movies have kind of taken themselves like Godzilla had a moment 2 years ago where it kind of took itself too seriously in one of its movies. And I'm really happy that this last one, like it had a few serious moments, but it was really just fun. It was a fun ride. And so I hope that Mortal Kombat is also just a fun ride. So.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, I can't think of anything like I don't know, the Snyder Cut that took itself maybe too seriously a little bit here and there.
You think?
But yeah,
like I thought it was curing diseases. I feel like the Snyder Cut and all of its followers thought that the Snyder Cut's going to come out and world peace is going to happen. Like I feel like that's what these Snyder Cut followers thought.
Yeah, I will say on a brighter note with social media, and maybe I just haven't noticed it as much, but the hashtag bring back the Snyderverse or whatever has kind of died off, thankfully.
Thank you. Bye now.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Because we need to move forward. So
it's happened. It's over. Thank you.
And Jake, they're starting filming on Black Adam.
Yeah, that should be good. I hope it'll be good. I think Dwayne Johnson's a fun actor, and I think that he'll
might
bring
be our
a lot
president
to the
one
role.
day.
Yeah. At this point,
I shouldn't laugh because we got somebody else in there.
Yeah, at this point, who knows what could happen and who could get elected. So, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It'll be good to see him in that role, and I think he would be a great superhero or anti-hero. I guess Black Adam's more kind of in the gray area. So
yeah,
he's a great hero.
Yeah, so
he's a great hero. Yeah.
Did you guys all watch Winter Soldier this week?
Yes.
This last Friday. And this is the only spoiler I'm going to throw out there. When Julia Louis-Dreyfus came on screen, I was like, "What? Oh, I love her! I'm so happy she's finally in the MCU.
Great.
I never would have thought that she would have been in the MCU, but I love her so much, and I'm just like, yes."
She played that role so well. Like it was so perfect. I mean, I don't know if anybody else could play it better.
From now on, like Dave and I just looked at each other. I'm like, I'm just going to have business cards with nothing on them. So when I can be talking to a whole group of people, can I get your card? Yeah. Here it is. Finish talking, walk away. And then they're like,
I'll contact you.
Yeah.
I'll contact you.
But just her whole confidence and demeanor, like it was just so good. So good.
I'm so happy to see her doing something because she did have her struggle with the cancer. And so just to see her be herself, it just makes me so happy. I'm so happy.
One of the funniest actresses working. Yeah. And evidently they've got big plans for her for upcoming TV shows and movies. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. The character she's playing is a big character.
Yeah.
So it should be really good.
Val. Call me Val. But don't call me Val out loud. Just do it in your head.
Is in the MCU.
Yeah.
I'm in the Star Wars universe and I'm in the MCU. I am in all the things I love.
There's no Tracy in the MCU.
I mean, there could be a middle name, like some kind of middle name Tracy.
It's true. Bruce Tracy Banner. I remember now.
BTB, baby. BTB.
It kind of interrupts the flow, though.
Yeah. Forget alliteration. We're throw that T in there somewhere. Thor Tracy Odinson.
There we go. I'll take that one. I'll accept that one.
That one works.
I do love it when they called him what was it? Oh my gosh. Never mind. I lost my whole train of thought. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I was just going to say
Uncle Sam. I love the Uncle Sam.
Yeah, every time they call him Uncle Sam. Yeah.
But it's so nice. We've got, after Falcon Winter Soldier, we've got Loki coming out. Yes. We've got some movies coming back to the theaters. We got some big ones coming up later this year.
I'm hoping we're all going to get to go see Black Widow
Venom.
together. That's what I'm hoping, is that we can all be
Yes.
in the theater for Black Widow.
And that
would
one's
be
in
awesome.
July, I believe, right?
Yes, July. Mhm.
Okay. By then we should be able to, yeah.
We hope so. I think so.
Yeah.
Things are moving in the right direction.
For sure, for sure.
So
Hey.
all right. Well, we just want to remind everybody to go ahead and follow us on Twitter. We are at Movies Make Us on Twitter. And you can also follow us on Instagram at Movies That Make Us. Those are great places to, know when we post new episodes, as well as reach out and interact with us. We had someone mention on Facebook that we need to get a Patreon going, and I agree 100%. So we are going to start working on that as well. So that in the coming months, look for some details about how we do that. We want to do it right, because we don't want everybody to feel like we're just begging for money, but we are going to be begging for money later with Patreon. It'll be fine.
It costs money to do these things.
Yeah, but we're going to give you something in return, hopefully. So
we'll give you some tasteful Tracy tidbits. Can we have a little tasteful Tracy tidbit corner? I was just trying to get alliteration with Tracy. I was trying to
tasteful Tracy tidbits. I'm down with this. I like this.
That'll be like, like the $1 a month level, like you're a part of the Movies That Make Us movie club, and you'll get your monthly tasteful Tracy tidbits emailed to you in a newsletter or something. It'll be good. It'll be good.
Let's discuss. Let's
see what we come up with for that.
Wait, we want our subscribers to go up. Shoot.
It'll be good. It'll be fine. Well, we appreciate your support. We appreciate those that have commented and watched our videos and listened to our episodes lately. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, whether it's you're subscribing to the podcast or YouTube or whatever the case may be. We always appreciate your support. We will finish up Transformation Month next week as we talk about Rudy, and then we'll go into May, where we're going to be really busy with Utah Remote Con, among some other things. We will be, as part of Utah Remote Con, I think we're going to be on Cast Off like twice with Craig Price. He's got some movies too.
It's not even little movies. These are big movies we have to recast. I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I am, but I'm not.
So for the Cast Off, I don't know what we're going to do for that. But in June, we're going to be on Matinee Heroes talking about Lord of the Rings, and heaven help me, how do you recast
Lord of the
that?
Rings? I don't want to. I mean, I'm sure you can, but I don't want to. I've decided that I'm going to pick a theme. I don't know what the theme is yet, but it will help me to just say, I have recast these all as cartoon characters or something. Like I'm not gonna, because it's just you guys know how much I love the Lord of the Rings, and
it's going to be rough.
This is worse than recasting the MCU. I feel.
Yeah,
it's not an easy task. Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. And Craig we just want to promote this and let everybody know, Monday Morning Memory Wipe is his new podcast. It's part of the Soul and Droids Network, and it's coming out on May 3rd. So keep your eyes peeled for that as well. Oh, I think that's everything that I had to announce there at the end. There was a lot.
That was like a little marathon in itself.
It was. I just kept thinking, get to the next stop sign, and then we made it. Next fence post, and I made it. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Tune in to see Val on TV.
That's right. Val's on TV Friday. Good Things Utah. We can't wait. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we won't see you at the movies.
This has been a Stolen Droids Media production.